Hello, rock and roll fans. Welcome to another Phil solo video. You can blame Ben. He keeps wanting me to make them. And I'm talking about music DVDs in this little series. And this particular one is one that came out in 2003, I believe. So I realize it's just over 20 years old. I can't believe it. But it is actually one of the best-selling music DVDs of all time. Can you guess what it is? It's over 5 hours long, 5 hours 20 minutes long, and it features a whole load of archive footage. It was all archive footage when it came out of a band who had not really been seen very much on DVD or on TV. In fact, it's a band who were quite elusive, really, during their heyday of the 70s. The only way you could really see them was to go to one of their gigs. I'm talking about Led Zeppelin, and this is, the Led Zeppelin DVD. Very nicely packaged, actually. Is that somewhere in Utah or somewhere? It looks very Zeppelin-esque, doesn't it, that artwork? And really nice package of 2 discs. And I remember watching this at Christmas time. At the end of that year, I got hold of a copy of this, and I watched it over, sort of stayed up late at night during the Christmas holiday week, up to like sort of 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning with my headphones on, just watching these Led Zeppelin DVDs. So this all came together when Jimmy Page was introduced to a guy called Dick Carruthers. Now, I didn't know that much about Dick Carruthers until recently. I looked him up on Wikipedia, and he's pretty prolific. He's a British guy, and he has had a hand in an awful lot of music DVDs and concert films. He actually started his career in the music business when he filmed a Take That tour in the early 90s. He'd previously worked in corporate video, making, promo videos for companies and conferences and all that sort of boring business stuff. And then he got to do the Take That tour. And then he ended up filming Oasis. I think it was their Nebworth gigs. He was the director for that. He worked on some Oasis videos. And then he did The Who live at the Albert Hall. And after he did The Who, he was approached by Jimmy Page to work on this Led Zeppelin DVD. In fact, he went on to work with Led Zeppelin again. He actually did the filming of their 2007 one-off reunion concert. And his resume has got everybody from Alicia Keys to Paul McCartney, Elton John, and all sorts of people he's now worked with since. But this was certainly a big project to go through all of the stuff that existed for Led Zeppelin. Now, I found this particularly interesting because I got into Led Zeppelin in the very early 90s. I was getting into sort of lots of rock stuff, and I was listening to a little bit of hard rock and heavy metal and stuff. And Led Zeppelin were one of the legendary hard rock bands of all time, of course. So it made sense to start digging into their stuff, and I gradually got more and more into them and ended up getting all the albums. But I think through the whole of the 90s, when I was listening to Led Zeppelin, I don't think I'd ever seen a single video clip of them performing. I'd seen photographs of them in music magazines, but I don't think I had seen any moving footage at all of Led Zeppelin. And that, in a way, is not surprising, because after they made a few TV appearances in the late 60s, their manager, Peter Grant, decided that there were going to be no more TV appearances. And that was probably quite a clever move by Peter Grant, of course, who was, he was a notorious figure. He was a controversial figure in many ways, but Peter Grant made sure his artists were not ripped off. He managed the Yardbirds, who, of course, Jimmy Page was involved with. And then when the Yardbirds split and Jimmy Page started to put together Led Zeppelin, he invited Peter Grant to manage them. And Peter Grant, when they went to America and toured there, he was a guy who was very hot on making sure that the band got paid before they went on. In fact, I think they had to get paid in cash or they would not go on stage. And so no concert promoter in America got away with ripping off Led Zeppelin. And if they didn't pay up or things didn't go to plan, Peter Grant was not averse apparently to sending the heavy mob around. So there was a lot of people who didn't like him, mainly people who would otherwise have liked to have taken advantage of rock groups, didn't like him at all. But obviously he did very well for his artists, and Led Zeppelin stuck with him all the way through their career. And I think he also worked with Jimmy Page after Zeppelin as well. But it was Grant who took the decision there would be no more TV appearances. And if anybody wanted to see Led Zeppelin, then the only way that you could do that would be to buy a ticket to one of their concerts. So it helped to keep a mystique around the band and make people even more desperate to go and see them. Of course, the only exception to this was The Song Remains the Same, the concert movie that came out in the mid-70s that was filmed at Madison Square Garden. That was all filmed in colour, high-res cinema piece. But apart from that, there was no other footage officially released at the time. And when I got hold of this DVD, it was really, really interesting to be able to watch Led Zeppelin and really delve into here. And let's just have a look at the packaging, because I haven't seen this for ages. I must admit, I'm not taking it out. But so there's only 2 discs, but they are full-up discs. So 5 hours, 20 minutes in total. And these are the sort of images that I had been familiar with in the 90s when I was listening to Zeppelin. I'd seen some of these photos, but I had never watched a film of them. So, obviously it was a big archival project. They had to go hunting high and low to find some of these clips. But the main features on this disc are, there's a number of TV appearances from the late 60s. I think there's a show where they perform on a Danish TV show, I think. That's a black and white one. And there's also something that was done in Paris, I think, as well. And something as well from the UK that was in colour. But those TV appearances, I think another reason why the band didn't like to do too many of those is because the recording engineers and the sound engineers at these TV stations really didn't have much of an idea how to record heavy rock. And obviously Jimmy Page was very, very good at recording heavy rock. He'd come through as a session musician and had learned a lot about record production and recording. So they really wanted to get away from having people hear badly recorded renditions of their songs. So they would prefer to have the albums out there rather than going on TV. But so DVD 1 gives you quite a long, I think it's a complete concert. It's the Royal Albert Hall 1970. Includes We're Gonna Groove. It kicks off with We're Gonna Groove, which if you're a Led Zeppelin fanatic, you'll know that was on the LP Coda that came out just after the band retired. But that's a full colour concert at the Albert Hall, including I think a 20-minute long Moby Dick where you get to watch John Bonham do his drum solo. So that's it sounds boring, doesn't it? 20-minute drum solo, but when you're watching John Bonham do it, that's another matter. So that's well worth a watch. DVD 2 kicks off with Immigrant Song, which is I think it's from Sydney. It's from Australia, and they've got a load of film footage, but it doesn't synchronize with the music. So it's a bit more like a music video, but it's a live performance of Immigrant Song, I think, from America, and the pictures from Australia, but it's a great one. And then you get some clips from Madison Square Garden, which I believe are outtakes from The Song Remains the Same. So Black Dog, Misty Mountain Hop, Since I've Been Loving You, great live version of that, and The Ocean as well. So that's a chance to see Led Zeppelin in full colour in the US when they had their colourful costumes, and Jimmy Page particularly had his colourful costume. What did he have? He had some trousers with stars on the side and all sorts of stuff. But Yeah, that's well worth a watch. And then there's also some footage from Earl's Court in 1975, and I believe that this is footage that was from the cameras that were used in the venue to put an image on the big screen in the venue, and so they got hold of this footage, which still existed. So you get a number of songs from Earl's Court, including live versions of Trampled Underfoot and In My Time of Dying as well. And there's a Stairway to Heaven on there as well, and an acoustic section as well with Going to California, That's the Way, and Bron Raya Stomp. So it's good chance to see what Zepp were like in 1975, around the time of Physical Graffiti. And then the disc concludes with, I think, what's my favourite section of this. I don't know why, but I've always been drawn to watch the 1979 Nebworth material. Now, I remember when I was getting into Led Zeppelin, reading about the fact that they played at Nebworth, their last really big gig in the UK in 1979. And there was this sort of repeated opinion that you heard from people that, they weren't very good at Nebworth in 1979. You know, they sucked a bit. And then when you watch the songs that are on this DVD, you think, well, this doesn't suck. So is that a bit of a myth? Was that? I don't know anyone who went to there in 1979, but since then I've read lots of comments online from people who said it was really good at Nebworth in 1979, and I think there is more footage, but Jimmy Page, being quite selective, only puts a small number of songs on this DVD. But I've always thought it's really good. You get Nobody's Fault But Mine, Sick Again, A Kid's Last Stand, great epic version of that, In the Evening, Kashmir, and A Whole Lot of Love, where Jimmy kind of reimagines the riff. It's A Whole Lot of Love. So that's a kind of interesting, it gives you an interesting angle as to where Led Zeppelin might have gone had things not turned out the tragic way that they did. But this is kind of funky version of A Whole Lot of Love, which is great. But the thing I really liked about this DVD is that they packed it full of extras, and they packed it full of little Easter eggs. So if you actually go through the menu, on each page of the menu, and even on each option in the menu, if you go through every single option that's on there, you get a little clip with sound and video, all sorts of different little things. So there's little clips of, I think there's one of the audience queuing up outside Earl's Court, and there's a little clip of stuff being loaded onto a truck, and various other little outtake bits. There's a bootleg performance of The Song Remains the Same, I think. There's a bootleg of that. And although you don't get a full version of Heartbreaker on this DVD, because I think there was a partial performance recorded where they didn't get the whole film. I think it's the Albert Hall. You don't get Heartbreaker because the film footage was incomplete, but you get the half that there was is hidden in the menus if you go through. So it's a fun little set to explore as well. So that's the Led Zeppelin DVD. What are your views on that 2003 release? Are you a Zepp fan? Have you watched this DVD? Let us know in the comments, and I will do another DVD on another video, which is coming to your YouTube very soon. Thanks for watching. All the best.